No one noticed the cloth-wrapped harmonica. Not yet, but they would. The folding chairs creaked like tired bones. The gymnasium lights buzzed overhead, yellow and unflattering, casting long shadows across a linoleum floor that remembered better days. It was the town's annual talent mosaic, a name grander than the event itself. A shaky live stream captured it all, watched live by 12 people, maybe 13. Backstage, a voice chirped from the PA. Coming up next, Mabel? Whitaker? Someone in the audience coughed. Another scrolled TikTok. She stepped into the light, 90 years old, small as a sparrow. A pale blue cardigan hugged her frame, and thick beige stockings cut off at her shoes. Practical, polished. Her snow-white hair was pinned in an elegant twist, the kind people didn't wear anymore. In both hands, she held something wrapped in olive cloth, the edges frayed like old war letters. She walked slowly, not out of weakness but grace, each step unshaken as if she had rehearsed it in her mind for decades. A teenage girl near the front squinted, whispered to her friend, "Is that a flute?" "No, bro, that's like a mouth piano." They giggled, phones hovered. One began a live stream. "Stay tuned, Grandma's about to drop her mixtape." But just off stage, a sound technician leaned in to adjust the mic. His hand paused mid-air, caught by something. Not fear, not confusion, reverence, as if interrupting her would be a sin. May unfolded the cloth slowly, exposing a silver harmonica dulled by time. It gleamed just enough to catch the light, like a secret on the verge of being told. Etched into its side were 4 small letters, MW, keep breathing, love, J. She brushed her thumb across them, then lifted it to her lips. She didn't play. Not yet. The silence was thick now. Something unspoken had changed in the room. The teens were still smirking, but quieter. One of them whispered, almost reluctantly, "She looks kind of badass." May closed her eyes. The crowd saw only stillness. But inside her, something stirred. Not memories. Scenes. Like film, grainy and warm. A jazz bar in Memphis, brass notes bouncing off velvet walls. Soldiers stomping to the beat. Her husband beside her playing harmony just a shade behind. And then, the envelope. One sentence. One silence. One harmonica. Placed in a box, not touched again. Not until tonight. She inhaled. No sound yet. But something inside the room leaned forward. This was not nostalgia. This was a reckoning. The girl live streaming blinked, lowered her phone slightly. "Wait," she whispered. "She hasn't even played yet and I'm nervous." A baby in the 3rd row stopped fussing. A man in the back removed his hat. Still, no music, just her breath. One long inhale, like the gathering of a storm that had waited 70 years to speak. And then, nothing. Not yet. But the stage was hers now. Not because it was given, because it remembered her. And finally, so did they. She didn't rush, she didn't speak. She let the silence mature, let it grow awkward, uncertain, reverent, like the hush before a eulogy or a vow. And then, as if the air itself had finally begged her for release, she placed the harmonica to her lips and played her first note. It was not soft, it was not hesitant, it was whole. A single tone, clear as cold morning light, rang through the community hall and froze every fidgeting hand, every restless leg, every judgmental whisper. It was the kind of sound that didn't come from lungs or metal, but from marrow, from memory. The live stream stuttered for half a second and then caught up. A notification popped up on the teen's screen. "Wait, what was that?" May didn't notice. She had gone elsewhere. The song she played had no title. It shifted. Minor, and aching, then warm, then playful, then shattered again. It was a melody stitched from lifetimes. Every note hung in the air like breath in winter, vanishing too soon, and yet leaving something behind. One of the judges, an ex-radio DJ with too much pomade and not enough patience, had leaned back when she walked on stage, arms folded, eyes glazed. Now he sat forward, elbows on knees, mouth slightly open. Another, a retired drama teacher, blinked rapidly behind her bifocals. May bent the notes like light through glass. A bend here, a growl there, tiny fractures in sound that told of grief and resilience. The harmonica didn't just sing, it spoke. The camera zoomed slightly closer, almost involuntarily, catching the twitch of her lip, the steady rise of her chest. This wasn't an old woman performing. This was a storm unfolding with the poise of a poet and the weight of a widow. A man in the second row wept quietly. A girl near the back stood without realizing. The teen who had mocked her, the one with Ike, the live stream, turned the phone to his own face and whispered into it, "I don't know who she is, but I feel like she remembers every war, every goodbye, and she's telling us without saying a word." His comment section exploded. "Yo, what is this? Who is she? Why am I crying? Replay this now. Bro, that's not a harmonica. That's a resurrection." Somewhere in New Jersey, a saxophonist paused his practice to watch. In a cafe in Seoul, a student missed her train replaying the clip. In a hospice room in Detroit, a nurse propped up a tablet for a veteran who hadn't spoken in 3 days. Back on stage, May's song softened. She was ending it now, not in triumph, but in grace. The final note didn't shout. It lingered, like an unanswered question, like the way someone says your name after a long absence. Just one syllable, and then silence, this time sacred. No applause. Not yet. The audience didn't breathe. They weren't sure if it was over. They were afraid that clapping would break whatever spell had been cast. May lowered the harmonica. Her hands were trembling now, but not from age. From weight. She looked up. The room stood. It wasn't a standing ovation. It was people rising, because they no longer knew how to stay seated in the presence of someone who had just given them their soul and sound. The judges stood too, slower than the rest. Not out of formality, but reverence. A small boy in the front, maybe 8 years old, stepped forward. He wasn't clapping. He was just looking. Then he said, "That sounded like my mom." And everyone understood. The MC rushed on stage, cheeks pink, fumbling with the mic. Wow, that was really something, Mrs. Whitaker. Can we ask, how long you've been playing?" May smiled. It was faint, sad, kind. "I stopped playing in 1952, she said, her voice soft but unfaltering. Tonight I remembered how. A pause, then thunder. Applause exploded. People clapped through tears, cheered through confusion. The girl who had whispered badass now had her hands over her mouth. The live stream hit 400,000 views in 15 minutes. In that echoing room, something changed. Not just in May, but in everyone watching, in person and through pixels. She did not play for fame, but fame would come looking for her. She was no longer just an old woman with a harmonica. She was a storyteller whose words had no alphabet, only breath, and the world was ready to listen. She left the stage without ceremony. No triumphant bow, no basking in praise. Just a quiet nod, and then down the 3 wooden steps, gripping the side rail as if returning from someplace very far away. Behind her, the applause hadn't stopped. It rolled over itself, shouts, whistles, standing claps like waves against a cliff. But May was already backstage, folding the olive cloth over her harmonica with care, tucking it into the breast pocket of her cardigan like a returning soldier. The MC didn't know what to do next. He stammered, Let's give another hand to Mabel Whitaker, everyone," as if the crowd had somehow stopped clapping. They hadn't. The teen with the live stream turned the phone back on himself, eyes wide, breathless. "I was gonna make fun of this. I really was. But that wasn't just music. That was like watching someone come back from the dead. By morning, the video had 3.6 million views. By noon, it had 22. The hashtags were inconsistent. Harmonica, Grandma Dory 90 years, and fire. Silent note. Mabel, why take her? Keep breathing. But the message was clear. Something had been released. Within 3 days, a jazz historian from Chicago posted a reaction video. This phrasing, these bends, this storytelling, this is pre-war stylization. You can't fake this, you can't teach this. May declined every interview at first. Talk shows called, radio stations emailed. One late-night host offered a segment titled Jazz After 90. She said no, not because she was shy, because she was busy. The first thing she did was visit the old VFW hall, still standing barely. She asked if she could borrow a corner on Wednesday afternoons. For what? The volunteer asked. To teach breath, she said simply. She brought her harmonica, and 2 others, newly bought. She played. Softly, this time. For 5 veterans, who hadn't spoken much since their wars. One man stared at her the whole time, eyes glossy. When she finished, he cleared his throat and said, "My wife played harmonica, but never like that." The next week, she brought 5 more harmonicas, then 10. Then a bus arrived from a foster center, full of children who had never held an instrument, never been taught how to pause. She knelt beside them, one by one. "It's not about notes," she whispered. "It's about breath. Breath is life. You give it shape, it gives you back truth." Clips emerged again and again. A child playing a wobbly tune, then bursting into laughter. A stoic man in his 80s closing his eyes while the harmonica rested. Against his lips, not playing, just holding it. May standing behind them all, guiding without noise. She called it Breath Notes, a program with no fees, no sign-ups. Just show up and breathe. And they came, from all over. A jazz magazine flew, a photographer to shoot her. They sent a makeup artist. She waved her off and said, "The lines stay, they're part of the score." A tech billionaire offered to fly her to his charity gala. "Play for my board," he said. "We'll stream it. You'll get 5 million. Views easy." She responded with a handwritten note. "You want to hear truth? Come sit beside a man who lost his son and watch him teach a child how to breathe. That's the show." He came. So did others. The VFW hall was no longer just a room. It was a stage, a sanctuary, a second breath. The boy from the talent show, the teen who mocked her first, started volunteering every Friday. He brought his camera, begged to record the sessions. She said yes, but only if he listened too. He did. He uploaded short episodes, called May's Mondays. They featured no intro, no edits, just raw moments. Chord, a tear, a whisper. One episode. A girl plays a tune and says, "This is for my mom. She left last month. I still feel her breath in mine." The video hit 12 million views. May began receiving harmonicas in the mail. Hundreds. Some vintage. Some pink, some engraved, and letters. "My father's in hospice. I played him your note," he smiled. "I'm 67. I thought I was useless. You made me pick up sound again. You taught me that silence can sing." She answered what she could. Most days she still walked to the center alone, her cardigan buttoned, the harmonica snug in her pocket. She never called herself a teacher. She said, "I just give breath a place to be heard." But there were skeptics. Of course there were. One viral tweet read, "Come on, no way a 90-year-old harmonica player randomly shows up and breaks the internet. This is marketing." Music professor challenged her to a live demonstration. "We'll measure tone quality, bending efficiency, breath control," he said. "Let's see if she really plays better than trained professionals." May agreed. No audience, just cameras. Him, her. He played first. Technically perfect. Smooth, polished, soulless. She didn't outplay him, she undid him. One note, a lullaby made from goodbye, a war song stripped of glory, a sunrise after a year of darkness. He removed his glasses, slowly, said nothing. The clip hit 31 million in 48 hours. People didn't call her a legend. They called her a beginning, because what she played wasn't a performance. It was permission. She never asked for lights again, never climbed a bigger stage. The Carnegie invitation came in a thick embossed envelope with her name in gold. Front row seats for 1,000. National broadcast, an orchestra standing by. The letter said, "We want to honor you. Give the world what they missed." She sent it back, unopened. Instead, she walked, slowly, steadily, to a cracked linoleum floor inside a nursing home just outside of Tulsa. No microphones, no seats. Just 10 folding chairs and a circle of people with stories in their bones, and silence in their mouths. She stood in the middle, took out the harmonica and played. No applause, only nods. And a soft weeping from the woman in the far corner, whose husband had died in '62 and hadn't been mentioned since. Every Thursday, she returned. Every Thursday, someone remembered how to feel. Word spread, not in headlines now, but in whispers. Reverent ones. A clip surfaced one day. A small boy, 9, maybe 10, sat across from May, head down. His foster record said nonverbal. No speech since age 5. She sat beside him, said nothing, just breathed, then played a note. Gentle. Open, waiting. He lifted his eyes, she played again. He reached out, held the harmonica like something sacred, like it might vanish. Then slowly, uncertainly, he blew, one breath, one sound. A note wobbly and untrained, but his. The room didn't cheer, didn't clap, it exhaled. And May, for the first time in weeks, smiled with her whole face. The clip had no title, no caption, and still it burned across the internet like dawn through frost. She teaches music like it's a heartbeat. She made a child speak through breath. That's not a lesson. That's a resurrection. A tech executive offered her a brand deal, branded harmonicas, a digital course. She declined. Instead, she handwrote a letter. Make your board of directors play in the dark, with one note. If they still want the deal, ask them what the note meant to them, not how much it made. She never heard back. The boy who live-streamed her that first night was now her documentarian. He'd stopped trying to go viral. Now he just followed her. Captured her as she taught, sat, played. Sometimes not even the harmonica. Sometimes she just sat across from someone and said, "Try breathing like someone you miss." And they did. He uploaded a new video every Monday. No music intro, no edits, just moments. In one, an elderly man played a low note, faltered, then whispered, "I think I've still got love in me." In another, a teen girl played a trembling scale and said, "This is how I sound when I'm not pretending." Every comment section flooded with echoes. "She reminds me of my grandma. I wish I had listened more. I played one note and cried for 20 minutes. Why? Does it feel like she's fixing something inside me I didn't know was broken?" May never read the comments. She didn't own a computer, but she did receive packages, hundreds. Boxes filled with harmonicas, old and new, some engraved, some wrapped in ribbon. Each one came with a letter. "My daughter used this. She's gone now. Please teach someone to play it. This saved me once, I wanted to save someone else." She kept them all, stacked them in boxes labeled not by name but by emotion. Hope, grief, wonder, forgiveness. The old community center, the one where she first returned, was renovated. Not by a sponsor, not by the city, by people. The teen filmed. The entire rebuild as a tribute video. They renamed it quietly, the May Whitaker Stage for Forgotten Voices. No gold plaque, just a quote engraved at the doorway. "You don't need a spotlight to be heard, just breath and time." And then, one Sunday afternoon, something small happened. A girl, 7 years old, wearing light-up sneakers, walked into May's circle. Her harmonica was neon pink, her hands too small to hold it right. May bent down, showed her how to tilt, how to feel. The girl played a single note. It squeaked, unsure. May laughed, full and loud, then played the same note back, cleaner. The girl nodded and played it again. This time, stronger. That was all. But the moment stretched long and wide until it filled the room. A volunteer caught it on camera. uploaded it. It was titled The Next Note, and it felt less like a performance and more like a promise. May turned 91 on a Sunday. No party, no candles. Just a porch light left on and the smell of cinnamon from a neighbor's kitchen window. She spent the morning the same way she spent every Sunday, sitting by the window in her small living room, harmonica in hand, watching the shadows shift across the wooden floor like passing time. Outside, the trees swayed like they were listening. Children came in shifts, some barefoot, some shy, some brimming with questions. She never answered with words, only music. Soft, patient melodies that bent around their awkwardness, wrapped their fidgets in rhythm, and taught them the difference between noise and voice. One afternoon, as summer tipped into fall, a young woman arrived, slim, composed, eyes older than her years. She held out a photograph, worn, faded. A young soldier grinned from the past. "My grandfather," she said. "He was in the 1944 platoon. Said you saved his life, not with medicine, with sound." May held the photo like it might dissolve. Her eyes welled, but not from sorrow. She nodded. "He gave me a stage once, just the two of us, and one moon." They sat quietly for a moment. Then May lifted her harmonica. She didn't explain. She just played. A different note now. Older than jazz, older than war. A note her husband once whispered into her fingers during their final duet. A note she had never dared play since. It was warm, full of breath. And when she finished, she pressed the harmonica into the young woman's palm. "He wanted it passed down," she said. "It still has breath left," and it did. Later that month, a museum in Nashville requested to display her harmonica. An artifact, they called it. A turning point in modern culture. The note that changed everything. May refused. She sent them another, not her first harmonica. The second, the one played by a boy with no words and too much silence. The museum framed it with a plaque, played by a child who remembered how to speak. But May's original harmonica stayed in use. Every week, every session, sometimes just pressed to her chest during moments of rest. Until one November evening, it didn't play. Not because it broke, because she didn't try. That night, she sat by the window again. This time, quieter than usual. The teen, now a young man, still holding his camera, asked gently, "No music today, Miss May?" She shook her head. "There's a new melody coming," she said. "I don't know it yet. I just want to listen." And so he sat beside her. No camera, just silence. She passed 3 days later, peacefully, in sleep, the harmonica still in her hands, wrapped in the same olive cloth it had left the war in. No announcement was made, but word spread. As it always had for her, not in noise but in ripples. A vigil was held at the community center. People brought harmonicas, not to play, just to hold, to breathe, to remember. The girl with the neon pink harmonica played the first note, wobbly, sharp, full of life. Then another child joined. Then another. Adults too, veterans, teenagers. A nurse who had never played anything before. A man with Parkinson's who managed just one breath, and still, it counted. They played not a song, but a moment, and when it ended, they didn't clap. They exhaled, just as she had taught them. 1 year later, the center released a short documentary titled The First Note. It wasn't long, 17 minutes, just enough. The final scene showed May's chair, empty, lit by morning sun. A quote, on screen faded in, "One breath can start again. One note can change everything." Underneath it, smaller, Mabel Whitaker, age 90, before the first note. And then, darkness, followed by the faint sound of a single harmonica. Not hers, someone else's, still breathing, still playing. First story moved you. Don't let it end here. Pick up something simple, a harmonica, a pencil, a phone call you've been meaning to make. Breathe into it. Let it sound. Share this story. Not for views, not for virality, But because someone, somewhere is still holding their breath, waiting for permission to begin, tag it. The first note, watch, listen, pass it on, because maybe your breath is the one that will start someone else's music.